Ms. Nicholson, you understand that in your testimony today that it's expected that though you haven't sworn an oath that your answers will be fulsome and truthful?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do.
You sent an email to Minister Jolie's Chief of Staff on June 17th, and you said both CNGNY, HOM. Can you just give those acronyms for us quickly?
Certainly. CNGNY refers to how we refer to the consulate.
And HOM is?
The head of mission.
Right. Both CN, GNY, HOM, and staff have been instrumental throughout this process, with the HOM providing the green light for the selection of the new residents. Did you personally have knowledge of Mr. Clark's personal involvement, or was that relayed to you? And if someone related to you, who was that?
Mr. Chair, as I stated in my opening remarks, my role is to summarize the information that is provided to me at the best available information at that time.
Okay, who provided the information to you?
In gathering the information to convey and respond to the minister's office, I engaged with the property branch.
Okay, who in the property branch?
Mr. Chair, my interaction was with Robin Dubois, the Assistant Deputy Minister for the Property Branch.
And that's the only person?
Mr. Chair, I also engaged with members of his team, including the Director General for Policy and Planning of the Property Branch.
And that is?
That person is Frank. And apologies to Frank, I won't be able to say his last name correctly, Huzang Ngabe.
On July 24th, this committee passed a sweeping accountability motion on this $9 million condo purchase for a Liberal insider during a cost of living crisis here in Canada. And then the following day, you issued a bogus correction to your June 17th email. And in that correction, you say that neither the head of mission was, and you say PRNMY nor CNGNY was part of the selection or approval process for the overall process or the property purchase. And so just so we're clear, you wrote this email that I'm referring to from July 25th, 2024, and you wrote the email that I previously referenced on June 17th, 2024. Those, I accurately quoted you in both?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I drafted those emails.
Okay. So in the first email, ma'am, you say both CNGNY, HOM, and staff have been instrumental throughout the process, with the HOM providing the green light for the selection of the new residents. That's not a typo. It's not a comma instead of a semicolon. That's very deliberate language. You're the head of mission providing the green light. Who instructed you to issue the correction that you issued on the 25th, the day after the motion was passed by the committee?
Mr. Chair, no one instructed me to make a correction.
Okay, so you'll have to elaborate, ma'am. The timeline is beyond curious. June 17th, you explicitly say the head of mission greenlit the project. July 24th, the committee issues the invitation for Mr. Clark to appear, and the next day, you suddenly your mind is cast back more than a month to issue a correction to the email that you sent, just of your own volition.
Mr. Chair, as I said in my opening remarks, the term green light, well, first I think it's important to remember the context in which the first email was drafted.
With all due respect, ma'am, the question was about the genesis of the so-called correction email that you sent. Did you do this entirely of your own undertaking without discussion, consultation, or instruction with anyone?
Mr. Chair, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I work with the best available information provided at the time. After issuing the initial June 15th or 17th email that was, as I mentioned, an initial overview. The Office of the Associate requested the leads to go through and pull together a more detailed chronology of events. And once that information was available, I relayed that information to the Minister's office. No one asked me to correct anything. I relayed the best available information that was presented to me at the time.
Who told you that Mr. Clark was not involved?
Mr. Chair, the records from the property branch demonstrated that the Consul General was aware of the process, but not involved or in a decision-making role.
Yeah, I've got to tell you that's quite the reversal. You effectively swallowed yourself whole in this correction that you issued within a day of this committee having Mr. Clark ordering him to appear. And I'm just going to quote you back to yourself. The head of mission providing the green light for the selection of the new residents. That was based on the best available information that was provided to you at the time, but the information that you received a month later, a day after this committee passed the motion, is a complete reversal of that. Will you table for this committee all correspondence, written, electronic, or otherwise, related to this issue, and specifically to the July 25th subject matter that you write on?
Mr. Chair, of course, I'm happy to provide
Thank you very much.
Material that would be useful.
Thank you.
Chair. Ms. Nicholson, the Treasury Board just recently increased the approval threshold from $4 million to $10 million, as I'm sure you're aware, in 2022. How many real estate purchases did the Minister of Foreign Affairs approve on an annual basis, both before and after this significant change, please?
Mr. Chair, with apologies, that would be outside of my scope and area of expertise. I would be happy to refer the question to my colleague, Stéphane Cousineau.
That's not necessary at this time. Perhaps if Monsieur Cousineau could provide this information to the committee and table it, that would be truly appreciated. Thank you. Minister Joly was appointed as the Minister of Foreign Affairs in late 2021, and it seems shortly after this the threshold was then increased by $6 million. And now the minister suddenly is not required to approve of these costly real estate purchases. And yet the following year, Tom Clark is appointed as Consul General of New York, and immediately after this, work is underway to provide him with a new luxury apartment on Billionaires Row. Does this timing not seem a little suspect to you and seem to the point that things perfectly lined up to allow Mr. Clark to have this new luxury apartment?
Mr. Chair, I can really only speak today to my role in this process, which is limited to these two emails that have been presented to the committee. What I can say from my understanding is that this process, I believe, spanned over 10 years, was initiated in 2014, which was 8 years prior to the current head of mission's arrival in New York.
According to an ATIP the National Post received, it states that you emailed an executive in the department that the branch in charge of the purchase failed to mention the apartment was on Billionaires Row. I believe this is Monsieur Cousineau's branch. Why did you personally think that it was important for the minister to know that this was located on Billionaires Row? Why did that stand out to you to mention to her?
Mr. Chair, my summary in that email to the Deputy Minister who was acting for the Associate over that weekend was very much to convey the background and all information to ensure that he had the most detailed information to make decisions on the file. What I intended in drafting that email was simply a summary of events that had taken place to that date.
Right. In your introduction, Ms. Nicholson, you indicated that you prioritize issues for the minister. You provide a summary of issues to the minister. What is the title and name of your counterpart with the minister, please?
If I understand correctly, Mr. Chair, if the honourable member is asking for the name of the Chief of Staff in the minister's office?
That's correct, yes. Who do you have these daily conversations with, please?
Oh, with apologies, that was I was speaking to the role of the Associate Deputy Minister. My daily conversations are with the Associate Deputy Minister, who is my boss.
Okay, pardon me, but your counterpart that you have these or bring up points of interest to the minister, who do these occur? occur with?
If I understand correctly, the question, Mr. Chair, in conveying information to the minister's office, that largely goes from our floor to our liaison unit.
I'm going to go to the process then, Ms. Nicholson. What criteria do you personally use to bring something forward to the minister? You said you provide, you prioritize issues and you provide summaries. What information, what flags you personally that something has to be brought to the attention of the minister?
Mr. Chair, the majority of the work that I do in summarizing or prioritizing are areas that the leads within the department, the branches, bring forward to my associate and identify as priorities within the department, or that might be of interest or of need to update in the minister's office. I have never personally identified a priority for the minister.
Okay. How does the minister then flag decisions that are of importance to her?
Mr. Chair, the minister, and again, my involvement with this is quite limited, my direct involvement, but my understanding of the process is that the minister conveys to her staff what her priorities are, and those come down to our department via the, we call them a liaison unit that works between the minister's office and the deputy's office.
Did the minister's office ask you to send the July 25th correction?
The minister's office, Mr. Chair, did not ask me to send any correction ever.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. Ms. Nicholson, I join my colleagues in expressing a deep skepticism in regards to the explanation that you have provided this committee today. I want to go back to a response you gave in regards to a question that was asked today. In response to the question about who asked for the update email sent on July 25th, you stated that it was the Office of the Associate that requested it. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, to the best of my knowledge, that is correct.
Okay, and are you the Chief of Staff in the Office of the Associate? Is that the office you are referring to?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So you're telling us that your own office requested you for the update. Is that correct?
No, Mr. Chair, and I apologize for any confusion. It was our office requesting of the leads, my colleagues in the property branch, that they provide the chronology.
Okay, thank you for that. There's a lot of confusion being created here today. In fact, I want to go back to the email that you sent on July 25th. And in that email, you state that the reason for this update email was because of a conversation between Minister Jolie's Chief of Staff, Peter Wilkinson, and the Chief of Staff of the Deputy Minister, Carolina Guay. And I'm going to quote what you wrote at the top of your email. Peter, following your conversation with Carolina, and further to my email of June 17th below, I am writing to provide additional information on the purchase of a new official residence for the consulate in New York. I think we may have found the subject expert that you have referenced in your testimony earlier in this meeting. In regards to who advised you on what should be in the updated email, and that would appear to be Mr. Wilkinson in conversation with Carolina Guay. So, and I hope I'm saying her last name right. So I guess I'm going to give you one more opportunity to tell this committee, did anyone in the minister's office, anyone at any level in the minister's office, directly or indirectly ask you to provide an update and to include this information in it?
Mr. Chair, as I mentioned in my opening statement, the email that I provided on June 17th was an initial email to the minister's office.
That's not what I asked. I asked, did anyone in the minister's office ask you directly or indirectly to provide the information that you included in this summary?
Mr. Chair, unequivocally, no. There was no instruction on what to include. We were providing information to the minister's office. The minister's office had asked for what was the rationale and the business case for the sale of the original property purchased in 1961 and asked if the head of mission was aware.
Okay. I do have the email in front of me. When did the conversation between Peter Wilkinson and Carolina Gui take place?
Mr. Chair, with apologies, I don't have that information top of mind. I would need to go back and consult with the individuals in question, as I wasn't in that conversation.
But it certainly would have happened sometime between the June 17th and the email that you sent. And I'm going to assume that it probably took place much closer to the July 25th date than it did to the June 17th date. I want to ask you, Ms. Nicholson, if you will table all communications, emails, written documents, or phone calls between yourself and any member of the Real Property Branch of Global Affairs Canada, Peter Wilkinson, Carolina Gui, and anyone working at the consulate in New York City from June 1st, 2024 to October 3rd, 2024.
Mr. Chair, if that's within the purview of the committee, I'm more than happy to provide whatever the committee needs to do its work.
And I can assure you it absolutely is within the purview of a standing committee to ask a witness to do that. Thank you.
You said you receive information from subject matter experts. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So you insert the information from the subject matter experts. You are not the subject matter expert. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
So that means, respectfully, that on the $9 million condo, you are not the expert.
That would be accurate, Mr. Chair.
So you received information from the experts before you sent this email on June the 17th. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, in compiling the information for the June 17th email,
It came from the experts.
That came from our property branch, yes.
So you just testified that you issued a correction to your email, and so the story that you've told today doesn't add up, just like the two emails that you've sent that don't add up. You're saying two contradictory things. That you only receive, that you only report the info that you receive, but on July 25th, you arrived at a conclusion on your own, absent the other information. So if the subject matter experts told you in June that, to use your words, that the head of mission providing the green light for the selection of the new residents, if that's what the experts told you, if you're just air traffic control and you just landed the information in the document, well, where did the new information come from? Mm-hmm. This is what doesn't make sense. Which subject matter expert told you on July 25th, the day after a standing committee of the House of Commons launched an investigation into this $9 million condo, which expert told you that Mr. Clark didn't have anything to do with it? Their name.
Mr. Chair, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, the experts have already been stated. Mr. Robin Dubois, who is the Assistant Deputy Minister for Property, and his team. And just to clarify that the request for the chronology and the information that was provided in that quite fulsome email was requested. That request had been made.
Yeah, when? On what date? On what date was the request made for the chronology from the minister's office?
Mr. Chair, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, following the initial information that was provided to the minister's office on June 17th, the Office of the Associate engaged with my colleagues in Property Branch and asked them to pull together the more fulsome explanation.
Ma'am, what date did you get the request?
Mr. Chair, I would have to go back. I don't have a date off the top of my head.
Okay, we're going to need you to table it because it just seems. And do you agree to table that with the committee?
Of course.
Okay, so it seems incredible. Like, what a coincidence that you get the information from the experts and then you circulate that in the department, and a correction is issued only after just a happenstance conversation with the minister's office, and suddenly the head of mission is no longer giving the green light. Like that simply does not add up. It's absolutely not believable. And in the absence of proof, of proof of what you're saying, it appears that you're misleading us today. Because we have your own words. We have your own words making the assertion that the green light was given by the head of mission, by Tom Clark, to buy a $9 million condo. After the Treasury Board changed the rules to allow for purchases of less than $10 million without cabinet approval. It's like this perfect puzzle was put together, and the only interruption was a standing committee started an investigation, and suddenly a correction needs to be made. Does that sound believable to you? Does this presentation of facts sound believable to you? What you say on June 17th is one thing, and then of your own volition, without any new information, at the end of July, you say the complete opposite. You assert the complete opposite without evidence that what you're asserting is true.
Mr. Chair, it would be inaccurate to say that there was no new information presented. As I have said from the outset, the email provided on June 17th was very much an initial overview, not intended to capture everything and focus specifically on the sale.
From an overview perspective, you said Tom Clark gave the green light, and you only changed your story after an investigation was launched. That's the bottom line.
Thank you very much.
Very much, Mr. Chair. Ms. Nicholson, it just seems very obvious that the trigger was pulled on buying the $9 million condo immediately after the Prime Minister visited Mr. Clark in New York. It seems very obvious. And as well, it seems that Mr. Clark, as well as the department, put a lot of stock in the listing price. It's just not reasonable. It's not a good accounting practice at all, but unfortunately one that the government uses consistently to count on something before it is sold. It's just accounting is not done this way. Reconciling a budget is not done this way, and the government should not be conducting their business in this way as well. It's incredibly concerning that it seems that you've lied about changing this email, changing the terminology within the email. It just seems very clear that you're not being truthful with the committee today. We just don't know who directed you to speak these truths today to this committee and to Canadians. There have been multiple scandals where the minister said she wasn't informed about things. There's the $9 million purchase on Billionaires Row. There is the warship that docked in Havana alongside Russian ships. She said she didn't know about that. And in each of these instances, including the purchase of the $9 million condo on Billionaires Row, she said that she wasn't informed. Yet all of a sudden, something goes wrong in the media or then in this committee. And then she is informed. She's informed at this time. So what you're saying today doesn't add up. What the minister is saying doesn't add up. It shows competence or lying. One of the two things. And Canadians expect their minister to know what is going on, and they expect their minister, their government, and the government's officials, no matter at what level, not to lie. So we require more information, Mr. Chair, and with this information that we are not uncovering today, I wish we could say we are uncovering and not uncovering, I would like to move the following motion: that in regards to the committee's ongoing study of the purchase of the new official residence for the Consul General, New York, the committee invite former Chief of Staff to Minister Jolie, Peter Wilkinson, former Chief of Staff of Foreign Affairs, Deputy Minister Carolina Guy, and Property Branch ADM Robin Dubois, and Director General of Policy and Planning, Frank, I'm not sure if that's Monsieur or Madame, as referred to by the witness here today. But it's clear we're not getting the answers. Certainly. It's clear we are not getting the answers that we require to, first of all, determine how the minister implicates herself into these significant decisions, and then as well the inconsistency that we've seen with the wording within the email and the timing around the email here today, Mr. Chair. And so as such, I'm putting this motion forward to call these further witnesses. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.